All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of the Fancast Live podcast. Once again, my boy Jamie Barrett joins me once again. We're going to talk some Giants and Rangers. We're going to start off with the Rangers. Jamie, how the hell are you? Long time no speak, man.
It's been great. It's been a little too long. It's good to catch up with you here. So, yeah, I got a bone to pick with some of the Ranger fans out there.
I love it. I love it. Let's get it started. So the Rangers are 6-4-3 to start the season, right?
Yep.
Not a bad start. Not exactly what we had anticipated. We anticipated a faster start for the Rangers, but it is what it is. It's still early, but you were talking to me offline, and you're complaining about a lot of Ranger fans on Twitter who, don't speak. You know, they probably speak their minds, and I don't know where they're getting their information from, but. What is it that you're seeing and what you're hearing and what you're reading that's really annoying you right now with Ranger fans?
Yeah, so I'm a huge Ranger fan. I've been a Ranger fan since I was a little kid. I've played hockey my whole life. My son plays hockey. We bleed Ranger blue, but it's just really unfortunate because it just seems to me that a lot of Ranger fans, they expect every year that this is the year to win the Stanley Cup, and it's starting to sound like Dallas Cowboy delusion all of a sudden. Like we've had dark ages. Listen, the early 2000s were dark ages. We had the glory years in the 90s. We gave away our entire farm system to win that cup. So there could be both sides of the coin there. Competitive late 90s, had a little dip. Starting in the late 2000s and to 2010 and through 14. Very competitive, have a couple of down years. The letter goes out. Then there's going to be, we're going to trade all of our assets, Kevin Hayes and a million other players. I don't have to go through the names. We all know who they are. So now we're in a position where, so we have a brand new coach last year, a lot of new guys that we've signed over the past couple of years. We make a tremendous Stanley Cup run, and that was because of very shrewd negotiating by Chris Drury to bring over some really good assets and veteran players that we would use. And we all knew, and I think logical people understood, that those were rental players. But, there's Ranger fans out there that have been dying to get rid of Ryan Strome for the past 5 years. And now he's gone. We bring in Trocheck. He's putting up better numbers, and now we want Ryan Strome back. I don't think so. That's not going to cut it, all right? Let the season breathe. He's winning his draws. That's number one. Everybody's getting on Jacob Trouba. Listen, he's a captain. We got to take away the C. We got to throw away his contract. We got to trade him. Dude, this guy was one of the heart and soul players for a Stanley Cup run. This is how I judge players how do you perform in the playoffs, all right? If there's anybody that maybe had to play better in the playoffs, it was Panarin last year, and he still got us past the Penguins. So our power play, middle of the pack, not worried about it, okay? I've seen the power play a million times. We're going to be fine. Shesterkin, he was all-world last year. He's doing good this year. He's not all-world. He'll be better. Listen, NHL teams are good. This isn't baseball where 5 teams have a chance to win every year. Everybody's good. Everybody gets better. Teams get better. The Rangers are not some young upstart team anymore where teams are like, let's see how we do against the Rangers. People are coming for us and playing their best hockey against the Rangers. So we need to find a system and find our game that's going to match the other team's intensity and get this going. We're 6-4-3, and we were one post away from being like 7-3, and the whole Ranger universe is on Twitter. Fire Gallant.
One post? How about 4 posts?
Yeah, 4 posts was the other game. We won that game in OT against Philly.
Right,
but
we lost the
one. There
were
games where we were right there, and right. I got to hear Ranger fans, starting with Larry Brooks on the New York Post. He, the fucking guy, all he does is shit on the Rangers every chance he gets. He jump bandwagon when it's convenient with the negativity. And then there's an army of Ranger fans out there. And I love Ranger fans. I'm a Ranger fan too, but we got to stop with the trade Trouba, Kreider's contracts. He scored 52 goals last year at $6 million. Nobody in the history has made that much production at that price. Nobody. So we're over 13 games, just going to throw everybody off a cliff. How about Ranger fans support the team? Okay, support the players, get Kravtsov back, support Hedl, support our guys. Like, listen, all right, teams are getting up to playoffs. We're 13 games in. Our Halak has not been good. Okay, we don't have a good backup goalie, but we need to stop with the nitpicking and the grand plans. Like, this season is over. I mean, give me a break. And then I got to hear, oh, the Devils are going to beat us. It's 13 games into the season. We have so much time left. We have plenty of assets. We have plenty of first-round picks. We got plenty of people to move if we have to make moves. And if I hear one more time people say, oh, we should have signed Vetrano and Kopp, how can you not play a number 1 and number 2 pick in their end years of their rookie contract? Are you stupid? I'm telling you right now, it's pissing me the fuck off. I'm getting tired of it. Ranger fans, be grateful. Winning in the NHL is hard. We went to the Cup Final Four last year. Let the season breathe. Thank you very much.
I got to agree with a lot of the things you said. Jamie, I told you many times how many times did I tell you that I would have loved to have seen Kopp and Vetrano come back, because I thought they added so much depth to the New York Rangers. But I understand exactly where the Rangers are coming from. There is a cap that the Rangers have to deal with. Yeah. There's only certain players they could have brought back. They brought back Carpenter. They brought back Trocheck in that as a free agent. Listen, I agree with you. The season's still early, and people getting on the captain. Come on, man.
Dude,
if they were reading the articles in the paper during the playoffs, specifically in that first round, what was the first round against the Penguins?
Yeah.
Okay. We were down what in that series?
3-1.
3-1. Who was it that went into that locker room?
Yeah, I forget.
Gathered the troops and said, we're having a team meeting, a player-only meeting right now. Who was it?
Yeah, I wonder who that was.
Jacob Trouba.
I know.
Okay, and it was since that meeting, down 3-1.
Yeah,
the Rangers put on a run and eliminated the Penguins, winning the next next 3 games.
3 games, yeah.
Okay, so I agree with you. People need to get off Trouba. He's a captain. He's born to be a captain. This guy is a true leader. For anybody to say, well, he's struggling. Well, everybody's entitled to struggle at some point during the course of the season. Everybody. It's going to be Panarin. It's going to be Chris Kreider. It's going to be Zibanejad. It's going to be anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody and anybody can struggle. Let them get it out of the system now, because down the road you're going to need these guys to be elite. You need these guys to score points. Yeah, I mean we're getting most of our points from the top 6 right now. We're not getting a whole lot of scoring from the bottom 6. But you know what? Injuries to Hedl, that'll hurt. Injuries to the other guys, it'll hurt. Kravtsov has already been out of the lineup, twice?
Yep. Yeah.
And that's not helping. This kid's a talented player. He was a guy who wanted to be traded, who started crying because he was sent down to the minors at the beginning of last season. Didn't want to play for the Rangers. Went to the KHL. We all thought that he was going to be traded. He did not. He's somehow, some way, found his way back into the Rangers lineup. And he needs to make the most out of this opportunity, because he may not have another opportunity like this one, specifically with the New York Rangers. So, yeah, I do think that people need to get off Trouba.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy, too. It's like the same people that, they couldn't wait for Strome to get out of town. Now they're saying, we want Strome back. These are the same people that booed Pavel Buchnevich when he was 20 years old at the Garden, throwing beer cans on the ice when he was playing. And then, he develops into a good player. We have to move on from him. And now everybody, we should have kept him. And then the kid line comes in like, the kid line. Well, the kid line wouldn't play if you brought back everyone or brought back. I'm tired of the hypocrisy and the living in the moment where it's like, what is right this second? Listen, you got to take in the whole body of work. This is the second-year coach for Gerard Gallant. This is the second year for Chris Drury. We overachieved our first year. We're winning. We're 6-4-3. Lost a couple of close ones. Maybe it should have been 7-2, 7-2. Maybe it should be different. Guess what? Other teams are good. You're not going to win every game. We have some weaknesses. He's going to make the lineup changes. You got to let the season play out. I don't like the hypocrisy, and I don't like I just don't love these. I'm seeing the craziest shit on Twitter. Gerard Gallant's not our guy. He got kicked out of another team early for this reason. There's mutiny in the locker room, and Trouba's contract. Dude, everybody's contract is bad according to Ranger fans. That's not a rookie deal. If you make over $5 million, if you don't get 100 points, you're a failure. If you don't win a Stanley Cup, you're a bum. What is going on here? We need some nuance, and we need to appreciate what we're doing here. If we have to trade Kako at the deadline for Patrick Kane, maybe that happens. Maybe Lafreniere moves on. Maybe we make a blockbuster move. Maybe we don't. We got our guys. We got Lindgren out. That's going to hurt us a little bit. We got young defensemen.
It all has to make sense. In the end, it all has to make sense. Whatever players you move and whatever players you acquire has to make sense. Has to make cap sense. It has to make chemistry sense. It has to make sense somehow for the New York Rangers to go out there and acquire a player, of that magnitude like a Kane. Listen, it's not going to be easy. This is not going to be an easy season. The Red Wings have improved. The Devils have improved. The Islanders, you know what? They'll be right there.
Be better.
The Flyers are better. Listen, there are no easy games in the NHL. I totally agree with you. And this early in the season, to be down on the team the way most Ranger fans are right now, it's just unexpected, and it's not. You know what? You just got to handpick who you want to follow on Twitter. I handpick the people I want to follow. Yeah. If they have nothing but negative things to say,
it's Larry Brooks in particular. It's always the same with this fucking guy.
Button.
I loved when Tortorella would chew him out and just call him, and I just absolutely berate him.
They were hysterical when he did that.
Prick. he doesn't play, bro. Bro, you're a writer. Just why is it the negativity? It's like, here we go again. It's like, dude, come on, man. I'm just disappointed. I mean, as a diehard Ranger fan who loves the team, I will criticize the Rangers when they need to be criticized. I have in the past, but I mean, to just totally jump on them right now like this, it's we don't do that with the Giants. Listen, we know the Giants have been a basement franchise. We give them some time, but it seems that Ranger fans, for whatever reason, they think that 1994 was last year, and they don't know, it takes time to build a contender. Look at Tampa. I mean,
1994 was a very, very long time ago.
Listen, I mean, not a lot of teams. I mean, other than maybe in recent years, you had the Pens and you had the Kings and the Blackhawks. It doesn't happen a lot where you win a lot in the same amount of time. It's rare air.
It's not easy to keep those teams intact, man. I mean, with a cap in place,
Ranger fans think that we can sign Patrick Kane, Vetrano, Cops, rookies, keep signing. Bro, you got to think ahead. You got to know who to sign and who to bring back. You can't have everybody. This is not baseball where there's no cap. So I just think there's some ignorance there. And, it might have rubbed some people the wrong way. But
that cap in the NHL is what creates parity in the league, because that's what you want. You want competitive teams across the board. You don't want just your usual 3 or 4 teams competing, winning, and running away with the title every year, just like we had with the Yankees for a very long time. I mean, the Yankees just kept spending money, kept buying championships. That's the way I look at it. Maybe you differ from that, but the thing is in baseball there is no cap. Yeah, there's a luxury tax threshold. There's a tax that teams will have to pay if they go above a certain salary. But in hockey, in basketball, in football, there's a cap. It creates parity. It creates competitive teams across the board. Maybe they won't all be competitive. You still have your teams that don't, spend the money that they actually should be spending. I think there should be a penalty for that.
Right.
And I think some leagues do have a penalty for not spending. I think there's some leagues where they have a minimum amount a team can spend to keep them, from not putting a good product on the field.
Right.
But.
So I'll conclude with this on the Rangers, because I know we got to get to Giants and other things. This is the same people that are trashing the Rangers, saying ridiculous shit online. If the Rangers beat Colorado in the shootout, which was, right there for us against the defending champs, we also beat Tampa, by the way. This people don't remember. If we win that shootout and we win last night, so our record is 8-2-3. So all of a sudden the Rangers are back. We're going to be on top again. So 2 plays don't go your way. So we got to stop with the overbloated narratives. And I'm just disappointed, bro, in some of these Ranger fans, how really nasty they are. For what? You should be appreciative of what this particular group, they fight every night. They play their hearts out. Hey, 6-4-3. We're
It's not just
winning.
Ranger fans though, Jamie. I'll tell you that much because I follow a lot of Mets fans on Twitter because I love talking about the Mets. I'm a big Mets fan. You know that. There are a lot of negative Mets fans out there, but
More cynical. Yeah, the
yeah,
cynical
they
Mets
are.
fans. Right.
But you get to a point where you don't want to be bothered with anymore. Just click the unfollow button and just keep following
Yeah.
those that are more positive. The ones that want to have a constructive conversation about the team or what they feel the team should do and shouldn't
Yeah.
do, but to continuously get on Twitter and berate the team negatively, it's just it's not healthy. It's not healthy for
Yeah.
me as a fan. It's not healthy for the person who's doing it. For me, I would just move
Yeah.
on. I would just click the unfollow button and not even bother. But
Yeah.
let's move on to some bigger things. The New York Giants are coming off a bye. They're going into week 10 now.
Yeah.
They're 6-2 to start the season. Their best start since 2012 through 8 games. We couldn't have asked for a better start to this season for the New York Giants. We spoke prior to the beginning of the season. We did a preview, and we weren't very high on the New York Giants.
Nope.
I think you predicted
6-11.
6-11. I think I predicted 4 wins on the season. Our expectations weren't there that this team was going to be a winning team, but that all changed. After they won, weeks 1, then week 2, then they took a step back against the Cowboys, a very talented Cowboys team.
They're a good team.
Granted, Dak Prescott was not, under center of that game in week 3. They still played well, and they still, did what the Cowboys normally do with the talent that they have, and they beat the Giants 23-16 in that game. But then the Giants bounced back, and they beat the Bears. They beat the Packers in London. There's a game we thought they would surely lose. The Ravens at home, a game that we thought they would surely lose. Then, then everybody's talking about, a setback against the Jaguars. Oh, the Giants are ready to lose a game. They're going to do it against the Jaguars. They go and win that game after trailing in that game as well. And then, of course, prior to the bye week, we lose to the Seahawks, a 14-point loss to the Seahawks. They did a lot of the things that the teams prior didn't do, and that was not only stop Saquon Barkley, but they keyed in on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones only had 6 carries and 20 yards.
Yeah, he's got to run the ball.
Saquon Barkley had 20 carries for 53 yards. So not only did they stop Saquon, they stopped Daniel Jones. And I think that was a big key in that game. Now, heading into week 10 after the bye, granted we have a very weak team in the Texans. They're no pushover. They have a good running back in Pierce. Obviously, the Giants are going to have to go into this week and try to stop the run once again because obviously they've been facing a lot of good, versatile running backs, and that only continues to get harder and harder as the season progresses with more running backs. So the Giants have to keep figuring out how to stop the run, but then at the same time also figure out how to stop the remainder of their offense and their key players in order to continue winning. What did you see in the New York Giants through the first 8 games that really surprised you?
I would say the buy-in to the coaching. It started off with week 1, and we talked about this on an earlier pod. The go for it for 2. You just don't see that type of moxie really from a Giants head coach, that kind of confidence. And that Saquon was able to get that 2-point conversion, bring home the win. That was really big for the season. Green Bay, they're not a good team, but a very impressive win to travel there with a very new group, new leadership as well. I remember a lot of what happened last year is like Blake Martinez was out. We said that this was going to be a big loss. Tay Crowder's filled in, done a nice job. Jihad Ward done a nice job. Schematically, Wink Martindale has done an amazing job with this group. The defense it just seems that the defense always makes a big play when you need it. Even on the Seattle game, Seattle controlling the ball. And, what is Adoree Jackson, who's been playing out of his mind this year? He strips the ball, takes it from Tyler Lockett. We punch it right in. the Giants defense gives us a chance to score points by making big plays every week. And if that continues, we're going to be doing, continue to, have success. I love how we've been able to run I love how Andrew Thomas has played. I think he's been one of the best left tackles in all of football. He was my offensive MVP to start the year. Him and Saquon are probably neck and neck. So I think our picks are pretty good right now for both of us. I'm impressed with Daniel Jones's toughness, but I've always known that. The way that in the fourth quarter he's able to respond, be focused, not turn it over and throw it away. Because even in the Seattle game, that wasn't Daniel Jones' doing. That was really some special teams miscues. Two muff punts, that's 10 points right there, and then that puts you behind the eight ball. So
yeah, but also remember the injuries that the Giants sustained on the offensive line with Bellinger out, the tight end, Evan Neal was out. Who else was out? Bredesen was out. So they were playing with three guys missing on that offensive line, including Bellinger, who's a tight end, who has been phenomenal. In the blocking scheme. You know what? Daniel Jones got sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
Had those 3 players been in the lineup, maybe he doesn't get sacked 5 times. Who knows? I mean, this may have been a totally different game and a totally different turnout had the Giants been healthy. But
right, got to give credit to Seattle. I think Pete Carroll. I think we thought that like when they lost Russell Wilson, they're going to be a basement team. Dude, this team like seems more confident without him. Seems that Geno Smith was a college standout at West Virginia. He threw for 1 million yards in a weak conference and kind of had that stigma. Never really found a home. It seems like he's going to get paid. I mean, he's playing good football. Kenneth Walker, an overlooked who was a sensational running back in college, overlooked by a lot of teams. But Pete Carroll, he's good at finding running backs. He brought in Marshawn Lynch via trade. He finds guys in the late rounds. He found Chris Carson late. He finds a lot of these guys late. And Pete Carroll seems like an old guy, but players love to play for him, and it seems like they're really inspired. So, I think we need to come back to reality. They're not going to win every single game. Every game is going to be close. This week is going to be close. Just because it's Houston and they're 1-5-1 or whatever their record is, that doesn't mean that we're just going to go in there and blow them out. It's not going to happen. Same thing with the Lions. I mean, that's going to be a dogfight too. So, every single game here on out is going to be very close, just like it's always been. And the Giants have to rely on taking advantage of other teams' mistakes, taking care of the football, and establishing. Playing good defense. It's really all we can do at this point. But very happy with our 6-2 start. Honestly, you can't say anything more than that.
The Giants coming out of the bye against the Texans and then followed by the Lions. They're a combined 3-12-1 on the season. They're not very good teams. The Lions have been a team that's been scoring a lot of points, maybe not as of late, but they're a team that tends to put up a lot of points and then tends to, give up that lead. They did it again this past Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. They had a double-digit lead on them, and they allowed the Miami Dolphins to come back and beat them. That's been a trend for the Detroit Lions since the beginning of the season. You've seen them take big leads on teams, and only to watch those teams come back and win those games. Yeah. Maybe the Giants will do the same thing. I don't know if they have the personnel to do it, but these two teams, the Giants really need to take advantage of. To be honest with you, I mean, 3-12-1. Combined, they're not very good.
You want to at least split those. You got to split those. I mean, obviously winning both is what we both want. We got a lot of injuries. It's the NFL. I think we're home for one of the games, or what do you got there? Home for both or home for one? Because that might play a little bit of
they're back-to-back home games, both against the Texans and the Lions.
We are going to be favored in those games.
You think?
I don't know what the line is. I think we could be 4 or 5 point favorites against the Texans. Maybe 6. I don't think it's going to go high as 6, but that's just my thought. And then the Lions at home. I like that we're home against teams as well, because we got some. The road test was last week. but it's going to help us. I do like the fact that both of the quarterbacks we're playing are not mobile. So Davis Mills, a third round pick, Stanford, big arm, not a lot of guys to throw to. They do have a great running back, and the Giants have been susceptible to big runs against. That's really what's killing us. And
Giants are
keeping
6.5-point favorites.
6.5. I don't know that seems like they want people to take the Giant. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I will take a 2-point win. The Giants, they haven't beaten any teams like by a lot, so that seems like a lot of points. But the Giants being at home, and one thing we got to talk about. This just came across the ticker today was Xavier McKinney. That's a big loss.
That's a huge loss.
He's the captain of our defense. I mean, he calls the plays back there. That defense is humming with him back there. Julian Love, I'll tell you what, though, he's a guy that's more than capable to step up. We'll see what Landon Collins can do. We'll see what some of these other unsung heroes can do. And
I'm still confused about the whole Landon Collins things because obviously he's a safety. He's played safety his entire career, and the Giants have brought him in. And, rumor has it that they're going to try him out at linebacker. What do you think about that?
Well, Landon Collins is a very good football player. He might not have the speed anymore with his injuries to be able to cover down the field, against some of these bigger receivers or some of these twitchy guys. So, Landon Collins has always had a knack for getting after the quarterback, timing the rush. He's a great tackler, right? So being in that linebacker rotation, that's, to me, what he's going to do. I think you throw him up in the box, you can try to get up another guy to slow down that kid Pierce, who's on my fantasy team, who's been a great addition for them, a 4th-round guy. So I think Landon Collins, just go out there, do what you're good at, tackle. Don't ask him to cover people downfield. But the Texans don't really have anybody, that can really hurt you downfield. So although McKinney is a big loss, again, I mean, take advantage of what's in front of you.
So McKinney's on the IR, so he's done basically for 4 weeks at least?
It's a mandatory 4 games, so it doesn't include bye week. Yeah, it can't be. So this week doesn't count. Go on the IL or IR, it's 4 games. So he's not going to be back, I think, till week 14 against Philly. That's what they're saying. We have some division games, I think, before that too.
We have a lot of division games.
Yeah. I think we do. I think so. These next two games.
Well, after the Lions, the Giants travel to Dallas.
Okay.
Then they come home to play the Commanders. Then they stay home and play the Eagles. That's 3 straight. Then they go to Washington to play the Commanders. That's 4 straight. Before they head to Minnesota for the Vikings.
That's a tough stretch. Commanders are sneaky good. Our division, we thought the division wasn't going to be good. With Taylor Heineke, they're pretty decent. They have a. I think Carson Wentz just does not get the team fired up. He doesn't have that quality in the locker room to get guys to believe, and they love Taylor Heineke. I think that defense is going to take off for Washington. They almost beat Minnesota last week, so we'll see what happens. It's going to be a big loss. He's such an impactful player. The reads he makes, the help he gives over to the corners, the tackles, stopping guys behind the line of scrimmage. He can blitz and bat passes. The guys, he's in Alabama. He's a great player. It's not going to be easy.
My biggest concern coming off the bye here is, a lot of teams. This is a copycat league.
Yep.
What the Seattle Seahawks did against the Giants. I am afraid that teams are going to, now that they have 8 weeks of tape on the Giants, they're going to grab that tape and they're going to see what exactly did the Seahawks do right that helped them stop both Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. I'm afraid that other teams are going to start to copycat that. And if that's going to be the case, what kind of adjustments do you see the Giants making in order to open up this offense? Now, remember, we're within at wide receiver, but Darius Slayton has taken on a big role now in the offense.
Yeah.
Wan'Dale Robinson, was involved 1 week. Last week he wasn't so involved. We need to see more of him. What players do you think need to get more involved in this offense in order to be more successful?
So the Tony trade is like that was a character fundamental trade that I think this new regime said, you know what, we've had it with this guy, and now he's not hurt all of a sudden. So I think whether he's a Hall of Famer moving forward or not, that
He was shocked by the trade, Jamie. He was shocked.
yeah,
I call bullshit on it.
yeah, and then he comes out and he listen, the guy can dance on the field. He's a playmaker, but listen, he's got two. That's another thing about Twitter. One pass for 2 yards, and Twitter's like, Kadarius Toney, he's a monster, he's a beast, he's gonna be. Listen, I think he's a great player. I saw him in college at Florida. I think he's gonna be really, really good. But come on, like, just please. So anyway,
we've seen the tape on Tony. He is a terrific player. He is a dynamic wide receiver. Yeah. He's probably better suited for the slot wide receiver position. But for some reason, he didn't want to get on the field. The papers are writing that this guy doesn't love football, doesn't want to play football. Then why the fuck is he in football? If he doesn't love the game, then why are you here?
Yeah.
Spare us.
I think it was also a statement move that, and also too, we also remember. I mean, we talked about at the deadline receiver being thin. Do you go out and get Chase Claypool? The Chicago Bears, they always seem to be risky. The Bears are always that team. They moved up to get Trubisky. They moved up to get Fields. We got that draft pick. Then it seems like there's a lot of teams, and the Giants
are maybe a second-round pick for him.
The Bears gave up a second-round pick for Claypool, but they picked one up for trading Roquan Smith. Who didn't want to re-sign. And Roquan Smith is a Georgia dog. I got to show respect to him. But, wide receiver, you really have to count on Wan'Dale Robinson, who is a rookie, to probably have the biggest impact, because Sills, he's number 13, just like Odell Beckham, and that's where the comparison ends, is they wear the same number. He was good in the preseason, but there's no separation there. Kenny Golladay, he wants to come back. We already know. We don't have to even go there. We already know Kenny Golladay. We don't have to discuss that any further. So it's really going to be Darius getting open, who he can fly. He's getting. I think he has a really good rapport with Jones, but Bellinger is a big loss.
Huge.
So I don't know who.
Huge loss.
I don't know who. And again, he's a 4th-round rookie too. So you're not going to get much receiving from the tight ends or separation, route running. You're going to have to use a lot of end arounds. So there was a game where Saquon had that really big pass catch. I don't know if it was against the Green Bay or was it somebody else, or was it maybe the Titans, but we got to get Saquon involved in the passing game more. 20.
I totally agree, man.
How about the short passes? How about Barkley?
Screen passes. Deacon dump.
I don't care. Dude, take your occasional shot to Slayton. But Saquon Barkley can run those intermediate twitch really well. I'd like to throw him 9 or 10 passes. I'd like to see that. I'd also love to see Daniel Jones in the shotgun doing design runs. I think when he did that, he had that biggest game of his career, 107 yards. That's a winning formula. So I think it's design runs for Daniel Jones, sprinkle in some short passes. That'll open up Saquon Barkley, because what you said, it seems like teams are just stacking everybody up at the line. Let's stop Saquon.
Because they're daring Daniel Jones to beat them. They don't fear Daniel Jones. The only thing that they do fear is Daniel Jones running down the field. That's something that Seattle was able to stop, because they recognized that, and they said, we're not only going to stop Saquon, but we're going to stop DJ as well. And they did a very good job of that, and the results showed that.
I'm gonna make a prediction right now. I think in the first couple of plays, if the Giants have the ball, they're throwing it down the field deep. I mean, that's what I mean, you have to make right off the bat these defensive backs, okay, like, we're going to sling the ball. Now, if we can get a pass interference out of it, get a big catch, whatever it could be, even if you just throw it away deep, I mean, I think that's what we're going to have to do to fend teams off, because you can't just line up and just go right to Saquon in that formation. They know it's coming. So, that's what I would do, is I would try to throw a ball or two deep early, keep them honest, and then use this Saquon passing game. Get Wan'Dale involved. I think with this bye week, it's interesting to see how they use Wan'Dale, because he hasn't been used a whole lot. But when he has made plays, he's had some pretty good separation. So we'll see how that works. We're so thin. So do you think that we missed an opportunity to get a wide receiver? Do you think that it was wise for Joe Shane to be prudent at the deadline? What are your thoughts on that? What's your take?
I think Joe Shane's mentality here is the fact that he knows the Giants aren't contenders. Yeah, we've had success. We're 6-2, yes, and that's great. But the fact of the matter is are we championship caliber talent? Should we go for it, or should we hang on to our picks and gradually move our way in the right direction? Me personally, he could have gone out and got a wide receiver. It didn't have to be a Chase Claypool. It didn't have to be a DJ Moore. It didn't have to be a big name wide receiver. It could have been anybody that could have contributed some kind of talent, anything. But I think Joe Shane wanted to stay put. Didn't want to trade any of his draft picks. I don't blame him for it.
No.
Could he have done something? I think the Giants didn't want to do something for the sake of doing it.
Yep.
I think that's what really happened here. Why go and get a Claypool and give up a second-round pick? Giants weren't giving up a second-round pick for Claypool. DJ Moore, I think the Carolina Panthers had already decided they were going to keep him. Why give up, a second-round pick for that to try to entice Carolina to trade him? I think, you know what, I'm a little undecided, but I think that Joe Shane did the right thing here because, again, like I said, are we a championship caliber team? Are we a contender? No. Exactly.
No,
so there you go. Yeah. That's the only answer that you need. And I think Joe Shane and Brian Daboll looked at each other in each other's eyes and asked themselves the same question: are we going to win this year? If we go and get so and so, no, then I think we should stay put.
Yeah, that's what the Rams did. They traded everybody, but they won a championship. I mean, they mortgaged their future for Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey and Odell Beckham, and the list goes on and on. And they were able to win.
They won. That's all
that
mattered.
Matthew Stafford too. So they have no picks for the next few years, but they won. We are not there yet.
We're not in that position, exactly.
We're an overachieving team, and we're probably right now, if we play solid football the rest of the year, 500 football, maybe one more than 500 rest of the way, you're looking at a 5 or 6 seed. Because we're not winning the division title, so that's not going to happen. So
realistically, you could see a 10-win season, 11-win season right now. The Giants are going to make the playoffs. I think they will if they continue to do the little things, to not beat themselves, not cough up the ball, not give up the ball, not throw interceptions, not fumble the ball, but do all the right things and play, within the system that Daboll and Shane are putting together. I think the Giants will make the playoffs. Will they go far? Not with this talent, they aren't.
No.
Because you're going to see very talented teams down the road, and we're going to talk about the division in a few moments here. Because quite honestly, what separates contenders from pretenders are teams that can win within their own division. It's still, up in the air for the Giants. They've already lost. They've only played one divisional game so far.
Yeah.
And they've lost to the Cowboys in week 3. They still have the only undefeated team in the Philadelphia Eagles twice. They have the Commanders twice. They have the Cowboys one more time. They have to win most of those games, specifically those against the Commanders, specifically, against, the Cowboys. You got to win that game in Dallas. Otherwise, you're not going to separate yourself. No. And if you can't win within your own division, how can you expect to win, down the stretch? How can you
maybe
expect to
the
win
other teams suck in the other divisions? That's the only thing you can really hang your hat on. Right. I mean, the NFC South is terrible. So it's really interesting. The crazy ending, DJ Moore, who we just spoke about, catches a ball as like a Hail Mary, pretty much. He does his little hot dog trot in the end zone, takes off his helmet. They missed the extra point. They actually would have been leading the NFC South if they beat the Falcons last week. They would be leading. That's insane to me. But they didn't, and they have a rematch this Thursday. But listen, I mean, like the Bucks, the Falcons, it's anybody's division, and that no one's gonna have a winning record there, and they're gonna get a home game for a playoff game.
It's still a long season. I still think the Bucks will turn this around.
I do too. I do as well. I think Brady's going through a lot. I think some of the veteran guys are kind of sleepwalking. I think they need to kick it into gear. So they're still going to be dangerous because they have Tom Brady. They need to play better defense and run the ball. The NFC West is another division where it's like Seattle, San Francisco. I love San Francisco. They have a lot of really good players. They've been there before. They got to turn it on. The Rams are, they're 3-6. I mean, they're behind the 8 ball. And then you have, our division is everybody's good. That's just how it is this year for whatever reason.
Yeah, and the Commanders were very close to going over 500 this past weekend.
Yeah,
they were very close.
Yeah, I think we have to win 2 games against the Commanders. And if we win these next 2 games, I mean, that's 10 wins right there. I mean, you're in. If we win these next 2 and beat 2 of the Commanders and don't beat anybody else, I mean, and we still, I think at the end of the year, I think we have the Colts. I'm not sure. We have someone at the very end of the year. We have a non-conference game.
Well, we finished the season against the Eagles. We have the Colts in Week 17.
Yeah, and the Colts, they have
home.
a rookie quarterback. At the beginning of the year, I thought we would lose that game. They have a rookie quarterback now. They're totally rebuilding. They fired their coach, so that might be winnable. So I'm telling you, we lucked out. I think that's another reason.
They fired Frank Reich?
They fired Frank Reich today.
They did, huh?
Overrated coach, and he just had an extension too. So
overrated.
He is. I mean, I think he was.
I thought he had some pretty good success with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, granted, they had some pretty good talent over there, but I mean, overrated. I don't know, man. I think he was a good offensive.
I don't know. Jim Irsay, he's a fidgety owner. He's got a lot to say. He's the one that's boozing all night driving his Ferrari too. But another topic for another day. Look, the Giants got a good fortune this year. Favorable schedule, but the tough games they played, Green Bay and Baltimore, they're not the Chiefs or the Bills. I mean, there's so much parity in the NFL. I mean, there's so many teams in the league that the Giants can probably hang around with, like in any division. I mean, there's just a lot of unexpected storylines. The Miami Dolphins are 3-0. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Then Tua goes down and gets his head taken off. Then he's back. Then they're 6-3 now, and they can't be stopped. So there's just a lot of parity. There's not a lot of dominant teams, and the Giants have taken advantage of that. I think Joe Shane knows that, and he knows that we're playing with house money. Don't giving up a second-round pick when you have so many holes on the roster. So we'll see. I mean,
what'd you think of the comments that Joe Shane made during the bye week that he was going to be talking to the representatives of Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones about extensions?
He's doing I think he's doing the right move.
You think? I was kind of confused by that whole thing. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on here?
He's
talking to these guys about extensions? What extensions are you talking about?
So here's the thing, right? So it's the bye week. There's not a lot to talk about, right? Giants are 6-2. Normally, the fans would be in uproar. The team stinks. Nobody cares. And everybody thought at the beginning of the year that these wouldn't be back anyway. Now, you're 6-2. Saquon is back, and Daniel Jones is, keeping our team in game. So people are going to ask questions. People are going to ask about McKinney this week, but, people are asking questions. Joe Shane, he doesn't want to be a GM like a Gettleman. He's very gruff with the media, says we're not going to discuss this. We're going to focus on the next opponent 2 weeks away. I mean, he's remained very consistent. He's been very consistent with the media, how he talks to them. And I think he's straight up. I said, I think it's an answer that he's not saying I'm definitely signing both of these guys for X dollars, X years. He's saying we're having discussions, which, I think that's the right move. I mean, how can you not? I think if he says no, we're not having conversations, well, then the team and the other reporters are like, well, why isn't he? Like, even though we're 6-2, he doesn't value them. So when you're a new regime and you have guys, you want to build that culture, you have to show a little bit of, you got to throw them a cookie that, what you're doing. So I think Joe Shane's politically, well, I wouldn't take too much into it as if there's like a deal being set up. If they signed an extension this week, it would be crazy. There's no way that they're near that.
Yeah, I was just drawn back by the reports that he was talking to them. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Saquon, I understand that. I understand that whole spiel.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was negotiating, like he was talking about negotiating, I'm like, negotiating what? These guys.
I'll tell you.
I mean, Daniel Jones, if you franchise tag him, is gonna make $30 million.
Yeah.
Okay, that's ridiculous. And Saquon Barkley is, how many years are you going to give this guy? He's what, 26, going on 27 now?
Old for a running back. Yeah.
You're not giving him an Ezekiel fucking Elliott type deal.
No, they know better than
because
that.
look at what's going on in Dallas with Ezekiel Elliott. The guy fucking can't do shit now.
Right. They're going to franchise tag one of them. I think one of them, I mean, someone has to get a franchise tag every year.
It's not going to be Daniel Jones. It's not going to be. You're not going to pay Daniel Jones $30 million, bro.
Okay, so fair. All right, so let's just say Saquon is the franchise tag. Kick the can. That's $12.5 million. That's fine. I would agree with that assessment. But then, listen, negotiating could be we played around the golf over at Westchester Country Club. You know, that's where I used to caddy when I was younger. I mean, you can go on a golf course, you know, have a couple of transfusions, play golf, you know, have a stogie, and you can call that negotiating. I mean, that's really all that is. I don't believe there's any serious.
I just wanted to get your spiel on that.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, Daniel Jones has got a QB rating of 88. That's what 0.3 more than it was last year. I'm sorry, 3.3.
Half the season to go. I mean, listen, the New York Giants. Listen, we are not out of the woods. The Giants could easily lose the next two and fumble this thing. We hope that doesn't happen. I think the way this team is coached, that happen. But it's good. Schedule gets tougher. What I don't want the Giants to do is look too far ahead. This McKinney injury is going to be tough on the back end. But you got 2 home games in a row against 2 winnable opponents. You got to win. If you win both of these games, what you got to do is play 500 the rest of the way, and you are in the playoffs. On the road, as a big, underdog probably. It depends who you play. It depends on where you finish up. Are we the 6th seed, 5th seed, 7th seed? Are you playing Minnesota on the road in round 1? Are you playing against the Bucks? Are you playing against who are you playing against? I mean, there's a lot of scenarios that we'll discuss this later.
There's a lot of good running backs the Giants are going to be facing in the next 9 weeks.
Yeah,
you got DeAndre Swift, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor. Dude, it goes on and on and on. So, I mean, the Giants did a pretty good job stopping the run against a good running team in the Seattle Seahawks. We saw them do a pretty good job there. But we've seen the Giants give up triple-digit numbers to all the other opponents this season.
It's the long runs of like 40 yards. That's the killer. I think you're 100% spot on. During the game, they stuff the run a lot. They get a lot of pressure, but it's that one play where it's at our 25, their 25, and it's now past midfield.
What's his face from the Ravens? What the hell was his name?
Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, thank you.
He went off.
He went off on the Giants, and he's a backup. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I know he's a very good running back. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I was like, holy shit! You would have thought that their first string running back would have done what he did.
No, the Giants are susceptible to that. Yep.
So what can you expect from the Giants offensively? I mean, Daniel Jones, he's averaging 174 point something yards per game. Again, this is where I get mixed feelings with Daniel Jones. Fucking guy throws on average 150 to 170 yards, and there are weeks when he looks really good. He'll throw 2 touchdowns, but he'll only throw 150 yards.
Right.
How can you justify even considering paying him the franchise tag?
In today's NFL,
I gotta see more. I mean, if he was throwing 250 yards a game and he was throwing 2 touchdowns and maybe rushing one in, if he was averaging 2 touchdowns a week, I can see the Giants saying, you know what, we're going to franchise tag him. We'll pay him the $30 million for the 1 year, and then we'll negotiate a long-term contract if he does well. But
Yeah.
I can't justify paying Daniel Jones. I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm not. That's
Right.
not what I'm saying. I'm not
Make
saying
an
that he
offer.
should be gone.
Yeah.
But I think the Giants should negotiate a 3-year deal, 2-year deal,
Yeah.
3-year deal, way under the franchise tag, because he
Right.
doesn't deserve $30 million. He's not a $30 million
I think
a
he
year
knows that
quarterback.
too. I think so. I think Jones. I think Jones is a good kid. He appreciates the opportunity he has. His
Again, I'm
teammates
not
love him.
saying anything
No, yeah,
negative
yeah,
about
yeah.
Daniel Jones.
But
I'm
he
just
doesn't strike me as the person that says I need more. I think he has a good. I think he has a good perspective on like what he's worth. His agent might say otherwise. I mean, if you get some Yahoo agent, I mean that could
well,
go like Kirk
obviously
Cousins.
he's got
Well,
to make
Kirk
his
Cousins.
commission.
Listen, Kirk Cousins agent. I want his agent because Kirk Cousins is the highest. This guy's unbelievable. He's fleeced the NFL. He's won one playoff game, and he's actually pretty good. I mean, I don't hate Cousins. Everyone kills him, but he's the guy is a $30 million machine every year. No questions asked. And you got guys that like Lamar Jackson, who he's one injury away from never getting paid. So Jones, I think, no 5th-year option. He's a free agent. So I think in today's NFL, which is, listen, the last several years, there have been dominant teams with dominant passers, 50 touchdowns, 45 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 5,000 yards. This golden age of quarterbacks with like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, blah, everybody, right? Now there's really only a couple of guys doing that, right? And it seems like a lot of the mystique of like the 5,000-yard season this year has been about defense, turnovers, ugly games, just low scoring. Even the Bills Chiefs was low scoring, 24-20. We're not seeing the shootouts. We see a cycle of the offense is dominant for years. And now it seems like the defense right now is winning. So,
well, defensive coordinators are finally figuring out.
They're putting everybody back, and they're not letting these Tyreek Hill
Exactly.
types go past the defense. And he's still going by everybody. But and that's the thing. But I think Daniel Jones is a very serviceable quarterback. He can win a championship on a loaded team and not make mistakes, manage the game. Like Brad Johnson on the 2002 Bucks. Just don't screw it up. But I think from where Joe Shane and Dable come from, they really that guy that's going to be able to really sling it down the field. The problem is we don't have receivers, so how do you evaluate?
I was just going to make that point.
They're
Daniel Jones, his rookie season is the Daniel Jones I would want. I don't want more than that. I want Daniel Jones from season 1 in his rookie year, where he threw 3,000 plus yards and 20 plus home run touchdowns.
Maybe 20.
I would be extremely happy with that. But the thing is he's not even going to get close to that right now this year.
No,
he's just not going to do it.
He does. I love his fourth quarter. I love the way he plays.
He's got 5 come from behind victories this year, leading all quarterbacks in that category.
It's like it's also then you look at the competition, right? Damn, this team, Texans aren't good, Lions are, but who is good? Nobody's good. Everybody stinks. It's except for like a handful of teams. Like everybody's not that great, and we happen to be one of those teams that's like on the good side, which we're trying to reconcile. We're trying to figure out: are we good? Are we like a really good team because of him? Are we good in spite of him? Are we good because we're playing as shitty teams? We don't know what we are, and we're just kind of enjoying this wave. We can't win without him, because without Daniel Jones, we're not winning any games. I think we both know that. But if we have someone better, I mean, are we like a lock to win the championship? Now, here's the thing. I mean, in the draft, we're overachieving. We're not going to finish. The best 2 quarterbacks are Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. And then there's a dip after that. There's a lot of other quarterbacks that people will take. I don't want them, because those are the 2 best, in my opinion, that I look at them because I watch a lot of college football. I'm like, those kids, they're elite. They're good. So what do? You can't draft a quarterback at pick 20. If you're a playoff team, you're in the top 12 teams, 14 teams. So you're not if you're pick 23, you're not taking a quarterback. You're taking probably the best corner or wide receiver, or you're moving up to get someone like that. So what I would think is going to happen is We play the season. Here's the thing: if Daniel Jones, listen, Daniel Jones, the ball is in his. He can make so much money. If Jones wins 2 games, starts to put up better numbers, does okay against divisional play, doesn't beat the Dallas, and maybe Philly roughs him up a little bit. Maybe he beats the Colts. Let's just say we finish 10-11-6. This is where he gets to make the money. If he wins a playoff game, that $1 million price is going up by $5 million. Right now, I think he's making $9 million a season as a first-round pick, something around that. The franchise tag, we didn't take his 5th year, so that's not going to happen. But we're looking at maybe a 2 deal worth $17 million a season. He wins a playoff game, you're getting 20. You win a playoff game for the New York Giants, you're getting paid. That 2-year deal that you want to be safe with is now 3. So the success that he has is actually might put us in more of a bind. It's hard to say.
It's going to determine. It's going to determine a lot of things for Daniel Jones.
Right.
Number of years, amount of money.
Can you believe that Daniel Jones is going to be playing a playoff game? Can you just imagine before the season? Can you imagine that Daniel Jones will be starting his first playoff game? Unless we totally collapse, it's happening. There's really no reason why we shouldn't, because these next 2 games at home we should take care of.
Yeah, the tough part of the schedule is right after the Lions when we start facing, 4 straight divisional games.
Yeah.
That's what's going to separate the contenders from
even
the pretenders.
Even if you go 4-4 the next 8 games, you're 10-7. You're in at the 7th seed because everyone else stinks. You're probably a 6 or a 7 seed at 10-7, or so many teams just don't have good records. I mean, it's not like Green Bay is running away with it, and all these other teams, they're all 500 or below. So because of that, the Giants by default, for whatever football god reason gave us, we're going to be a playoff game. And if Daniel Jones loses a playoff game, but he plays really well, that's another thing. It's like, what do we do?
There are 5 winnable games in the next 9 weeks. You got the Texans, the Lions. You can definitely beat the Cowboys if you play,
their defense
at the
scares
top
the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, I know. But
that's on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna be fired up for that. I'll be down in Georgia.
Awesome.
I'll be fired. I'll be loaded up for that game.
Then you got the Commanders at home. You got the Eagles at home. That's gonna be a tough game. But I think the 2 games against the Commanders, the Lions, the Texans, and the Colts, those are your 5 games.
Yeah.
Those are 5 games that they can win. They should win.
So I'll play devil's advocate. I'll say that we split the Commanders, lose 2 to the Eagles, lose the Cowboys. Even if we go really not that good in the division, 1-5 in the division, win the rest, dude, we're still at 10-7. 4-5, you're still 10-7. And at that point, the division, it doesn't even matter. You're just in the playoffs. So
right.
Even if we stumble in, even if we lose another game, well, you're 9-8. You're still right there.
Yeah, and you're hoping the Giants are healthy. You're hoping that Kenny Galladay is giving you something.
You can get Azeez Ojulari back healthy. You get McKinney pull the way back. Bellinger. If you get anything from Galladay, if Wan'Dale can kind of start into form. Knock on wood, Saquon. Then if all these guys are ready to go, I mean, who knows? Kayvon Thibodeau, he gets a lot of pressure. Maybe he turns it on. Maybe he totally figures it out and starts sacking everybody. Who knows?
I'm just curious to see if Kafka is going to make any kind of changes to the offense heading
There's
into.
There's not much to work with. There's not. Marcus Johnson can't catch a ball. David Sills can't run around. I mean, these guys can't play. I mean. You got Slayton.
But if you stop your 2 key players in Jones and Barkley, what else do you have?
That's what they got to fit. I think that's
if you stop those 2, then Daniel Jones is going to have to start throwing the ball more often.
Yeah.
And he's done a very good job protecting the ball. He's given up what?
I think only 2 fumbles.
2 fumbles. One wasn't even his fault.
One was not his fault. Yeah.
And then did he? He has a couple of interceptions, right?
Yeah, not many. He doesn't
No.
put the ball in harm's way, but he's not really the Giants. It's not their game. They don't get open downfield. I mean, I think if Galladay can give you some sort of contested catch, I think that's good for the red zone. At least if
Yeah,
you can
jump
put
ball.
Galladay
Give me a
one-on-one,
jump ball.
I want to see him at least. I don't care if he catches it or not. At least threaten the defense. That's one less player to stop
Try to
Barkley.
get a flag. Get a freaking flag.
Yeah.
Get a
So
first down on the goal line and
he's
let
saying the
Barkley
right
punch it
thing.
in.
Galladay's saying the right things. He wants to dispute. I think winning helps a lot. I mean, if the Giants were 2-6, he would not be saying those things for sure. But now that Tony's gone, that's less competition for him. I know that they were friendly, but you can't when you're a pro and someone leaves that's in your position. I mean, Galladay is gonna see the field again. I mean, because once Tony wore his way out, Marcus
Well,
Johnson,
Galladay, you have to pay him, and you can't move him, so you have to
yeah,
play him.
yeah. I think you can cut him next year, but
Yeah, I think that's what the plan is. I
yeah,
think ultimately the plan is hold on to him because if you get rid of him this year, that's a lot of dead cap space.
yeah. Forget
If
it.
you get rid
So
of him next year, it'll be a lot less. So
Slayton is your consistent target. They'll be all over him. I think you got to get Wandale involved, end around sweeps, screens, short passes in the middle in the slot, and then you got to use Barkley as a receiver. And then there's really nobody else to throw the ball to. There's no tight end. I mean, David, Bellinger's not in. Cody Bellinger, it's Cody Bellinger. David Bellinger's out.
Daniel Bellinger.
Daniel Bellinger. I'll get his name right one of these weeks. I mean, who do we have on our team? Who? Every time someone catches the ball, I'm like, who? Like David's who? Who are these guys?
Yeah, I feel you. I feel the same way. Sometimes some of the names that are announced during the game, I'm like, who the fuck did you say? Who's
Yeah,
that?
I know.
I gotta go to my phone and look it up.
I am
'Cause-
surprised we didn't get even a 7th round pick for a deep threat, not a real good receiver, but someone like a.
That's what I was saying before. I think he could have gone out and got something.
Remember that guy Mike
something.
Wallace? Remember
Yeah.
that guy Mike Wallace? All he does is run deep.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on a bunch of different teams. Even a guy like that, just like a Deshaun Jackson, not actually Deshaun Jackson, but but someone like that just vertically can go down the field. There's not one person.
Stretch the field out.
I was surprised we didn't get one, but I think this regime, they value the picks and they might want to move up in some of those rounds to address needs.
They just picked up a wide receiver from Buffalo off waivers. Hodgins, I think his name is. And then OBJ's name keeps coming up. He was just in New York or New Jersey visiting his old friend Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? You think there's a slight chance that because you know what?
There's a chance.
For me, it would make a whole lot of sense to bring him back. It doesn't cost you any picks.
Yeah, David Sills, sit down, give the jersey up. I've seen enough of David Sills. We're on 13. But look, Odell Beckham Jr. We saw him as a kid from LSU, fiery, explosive playmaker, dynamic. We have not seen an offensive player like Odell Beckham. He's probably the best offensive talented player I've ever seen play. Probably Barkley's up there too, but Odell Beckham is one of the best that we've ever had in the history of our franchise, even recent memory. I mean, I could go back a little bit more, but what do you get with him? You get Super Bowl, you get credibility. The guy's an athlete. He can catch the ball from anywhere. Can he get the same separation? Is he going to be taking a 7-yard slant to the house? I don't think we should expect that. But even if he threatens the defense, you can get him the ball in a little bit of space and give the defense something to look at. That's only going to help Barkley.
It's going to help defenses respect your passing game.
I would take him. He's not going to demand that much money. Other teams are going to want him. I think the Chiefs, there's going to be the Bills, Miller's over there. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, Shepard isn't playing. I mean, is he going to want to play for the Giants? Doesn't really know anybody here. He's kind of far removed. I think, he likes New York. I mean, he lives in L.A. I mean, there's a lot of factors.
And he's a lot more mature than he was his first stint around.
He is a lot more mature. He's still got the attitude and the personality. He's still a ferocious competitor. Underrated thing about Odell Beckham is that guy can block downfield. I mean, he's a physical, nasty football player in between the lines. I'll take him on my team. I think he's learned a lot. I mean, it's a new GM as well. I don't think he was a big fan of Gettleman. I don't think they liked each other very much. I don't think he really respected the coach. But Dable, maybe Shepard gets in his ear. Maybe he says, "Hey, this new coach is a good guy. You'll like him." And Daniel Jones is a little bit corny, but he's not bad. He wants to win. Giants are going to make the playoffs. I mean, but here's the thing. I mean, if he's ring chasing, he's going to go to Buffalo. But Buffalo's cold, and it's. I mean, there's not much to do in Buffalo. Odell likes to, hit the scene a little bit. So it's interesting. I would take him. I mean, there's really no reason. There's nothing he's not going to hurt the team.
It has to make sense financially, obviously, first and foremost, because the Giants don't have a whole lot of wiggle room with the cap right now.
No.
So we'll
see.
If
they can make it work with the cap, I'm totally down with it, because he's not going to. Our team's not going to change our philosophy. He doesn't have that type of impact anymore. He's a guy that's going to help you in big games, make a couple of tough catches, might, separate from a defender, score a touchdown. He played great in the Super Bowl, got hurt again. He does get hurt a lot, but you know what? If you don't give up a lot for him, if you don't, you're not going to pay him $10 million. He's going to get a couple million, a lot of incentives. You never know. But I would take him.
We spoke a lot about the offense. We really talk much about the defense. What do you think the Giants have to do defensively to adjust against some of these tougher opponents that are going to be coming up in the second half of the season, like the Cowboys, the Eagles?
Yeah, it's the running.
The Jonathan Taylors out there, the Pierces. There's going to be a lot of good running backs. I mean, obviously the defensive line is going to be healthy. Ojulari, I think, is still out, but Thibodeau has had a pretty good season. It's not showing in the sacks department, but I think he's
getting there.
He's getting there.
Yeah.
He's been really tough. He's quick. He's getting to the quarterback. If he's not bringing him down, he's getting close. Leonard Williams. He's been good. What's his face
Dexter
next
Lawrence.
to him? Dexter Lawrence. Oh my God, what a season he's having.
Yeah, what a player.
I mean, there's a good chance that Leonard Williams might not have a job with the Giants come next year if they're gonna have, they're gonna think about signing Dexter Lawrence to a long-term deal. I don't know. That's just speculation. That's what a lot of people are talking about. But this defense has been holding up pretty strong. Adoree Jackson, you mentioned earlier. He's had a phenomenal season so far. You would have never thought that he was going to be your number one cornerback after the Giants released Bradbury, but he's playing like a number one cornerback.
No doubt.
Yeah. So.
And then Fabian Moreau, who is, kind of a – we saw this with Green Bay and Rasul Douglas, a guy that kind of bounced around late round. And Fabian Moreau has made some big plays for us there, big plays. Mm-hmm. He's a no-name. So I think they're buying into the scheme. I think they execute really well. Julian Love, he was a guy that we really liked for a while, but he has totally blossomed. This guy is a real NFL tough player, well-respected in the room. McKinney loss is big. The Giants, what they struggle with is they let up big runs. We talked about earlier, Kenyon Drake. And a lot of these, they're just susceptible to big, gashing runs. And the Dallas Cowboys scare me because Tony Pollard is a home run hitter and Zeke is kind of the meat and potatoes, will soften the defense. So we're going to have our hands full. You know what? The best defense sometimes is a good offense that can keep them off the field. I mean, we need to do a better job of manufacturing more points. We can't go in like at midfield and get stopped and punt. You got to get a field goal.
There were times when the Giants did that this year against most of their opponents, but the fact of the matter is against Seattle, they were doing very well on third down conversions. Yeah. But against Seattle, they didn't fare very well. They took some stupid penalties as well. Yeah. Some fucking false starts.
Yeah,
a lot of it was at least two, maybe three false starts in that game.
There was a bunch, especially late.
I mean, obviously you've got a lot of guys injured on that offensive line, so you got guys who have been filling in, and and it cost you. I mean, there were a lot of times when the Giants were in situations where they could have gotten first down, and because of a false start, they got brought back and weren't
Yep.
able to convert. But I think the Giants really need to get back to playing error-free football, because that was a big part of their success thus far this season, and they
Yeah.
need to continue doing that, because I think they're one of the least penalized teams in the league right now. I think, right? Am I wrong?
I think they're up there, and then also they create a lot of turnovers too, which they're going to have to continue to do. I mean, we in the Seattle game, they were beating us pretty bad. Defense makes a play. Jackson strips the ball. We score. The defense is going to have to continue to give our offenses short fields. We're going to have to manufacture offense that way. You cannot, under any circumstances, we got to figure out our punt return situation. I know Richie James, he's over. Listen, we talked about early in the year. He's overachieved, right? He's going to have 5-6 catches a game with 80 yards. He's going to have some nice plays on third down, but he's not a guy that's a consistent lineup guy, right? So what do we do now? Tony's out of the equation. So who's going to return punts? What do we do about that? Do we put Richie James back there? Do we have other guys that can return punts?
Brightwell, but do you trust Brightwell? I don't know if he's got any experience. I know he came
Brightwell,
into the game.
I like his running ability. He doesn't have the explosiveness and twitchiness of James, but I think he just don't fumble the ball. I mean, I don't need Dante Hall to run 80 yards. Just don't fumble the ball.
Right.
So, again, the Giants have a winning formula. They got to stick to it, but their defense is going to have to continue to make turnovers, regardless of who they play. I mean, listen, these next two games are no. I know that they're the Texans and the Lions.
They're no
I don't care what
pushovers.
the
They can
I
put
don't
up
care what
points.
the
They can put up points.
The Giants are not a team that's going to win by 15, 20 points. Now, I'd love to be proven wrong, but that's just not how they're built. Every game is going to be close. We just do
they're
not have
a team that
personnel.
are going to come back from two touchdowns down. I mean, they've
No.
shown to do that on a few occasions this year, but they're not going to do that against teams like Dallas, Philadelphia.
It's also been like 10 points or 7. It's not been
Right.
like 14, 20 points. That's like we can't let that happen.
No.
So take advantage of the matchups. Next 2 weeks, quarterbacks are not mobile. That's the first thing I look at. I think the Giants being home, that's a big advantage. The crowd's going to be fired up after the bye week. You win these next two games.
I gotta give it to Giants fans, man. They've really gotten into these games, specifically at home.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been really, really loud, and it's great to see that, because, quite honestly, it's up to the fans to make it hard for opposing teams to come into MetLife Stadium and play against the Giants.
The loudest it's been in years.
Yeah, definitely. So kudos to them.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, remember last year you had the Jake Fromm kneel down on third down at the 15-yard line.
Did you really have to remind us about that?
I did. We got to put it into perspective. We are not far removed from that. But you know what? Like, fans have been great. Got to stick by our guy. We got Daniel Jones. I mean, he's gonna have to take some chances. He's gonna have to throw the ball a little bit more. Teams are gonna stack the box up. I think Barkley with a week off, get him fresh. You know what I mean? I think he's gonna come out firing. Listen, I think you said on Vegas got a 6.5 point favorites. So don't know if I'm gonna bet the game yet. But this is definitely the highest we've been favored in a game.
I will never touch the Giants ever again.
Yeah.
I've lost too many games. I've lost too many bets on the Giants. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I did pretty good in college football. I bet Notre Dame and I had LSU, both road dogs. Too many points to both teams. And LSU won outright, so
yep.
That would have been good. So I'm excited, man. The second half, we're here. Ranger fans, chill the fuck out. Stop with the hate. Respect your team. Appreciate what we're doing. Giants fans, this is more than we can ask for. I definitely do not want to lose to Houston, because Detroit, although Detroit, they're weird. They beat Green Bay, they score a lot of points, but I don't want to get into a shootout with Detroit. I'm worried about Detroit more than Houston.
The Giants don't want to get into a shootout with any team, regardless of how good or how bad they are. They can't play that type of game. They can't do that. But you made a good point before. The defense has to get off the field. The offense has to keep the defense off the field. That's one good way the Giants can win games. If the offense can keep converting those third downs and keeping defense off the field and prolonging drives and getting points on the board, the Giants
Yep.
have a good chance of winning.
I agree with that, brother. So I guess before we head out, our predictions for defensive player of the year for the Giants on offense. I had Kayvon Thibodeau, and who did you have?
Shit, I don't remember.
Did you have McKinney?
I think, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I had
Okay,
McKinney.
so I could gain some ground because
Hmm.
McKinney's out, and that's not good. We don't want him to be out. Kayvon Thibodeau, if he can get a 3 or 4 sacks these next couple of weeks, he's going to put in. But
I wouldn't mind
offensively,
seeing that at all. I'll tell
yeah,
you, Thibodeau has been really good. I think he's got the speed, he's got the talent, he's got the strength, he's got the size. Yeah, he's on his way, man. Oh, dude, that's the other point. That's the other point I wanted to make before we go off, is the the contributions that we're getting from our rookie class this year.
yeah,
It's been spoken about on many occasions, either on on Sports Center or Giants Network or whatever the case is, or on podcasts that I listen to. These rookies have really done a terrific job. They're contributing big time to this New York Giants success this year, and I would love to continue seeing that from them. I don't want them to, slack off for any reason. I want them to continue. I want continued success out of them because, quite honestly, they're the future of this team, and
yep.
and I do appreciate that. They've been playing really hard.
Yeah, definitely. And then offensively, Andrew Thomas and Saquon, I think they're both neck and neck. I mean, Saquon's got more of the sexier plays on film, but Andrew Thomas, he's been good. I mean,
He's a
he's
beast.
constantly one of the highest rated. I don't think he's let up a sack. He's let up a couple of pressures maybe, but he's been rock
He just
solid.
gets
So,
better and better and better and
yeah.
better. Remember when was it, the beginning of the season or maybe at the end of last year? Giants fans were getting on him. It
Oh
was a
yeah.
waste of a pick. It was Gettleman's pick. He's garbage. Get him out of here. And look at him now.
Yeah.
Eat your
So
words.
this new coaching regime has done a good job of seeing who we have,
It all
getting the
starts at the
most
top.
out of Dexter Lawrence.
It
Like,
all starts at the top, man. These
right.
guys have bought into the system,
Yep.
and they appreciate their head coach. They appreciate the general manager. There's great communication within this organization. You couldn't have asked for a better start for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're playing to win games as opposed to last year when they were playing games to lose. That's the
Yeah.
biggest difference between this year's team and last year under Joe Judge.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. They're really believing that they can go into a game and they're expecting to win. Where in the past it's like anything that could go wrong went wrong and they lose. So yeah, man.
Exactly. All right, Jamie. Thanks for coming on with me. I enjoyed this hour plus conversation with about the Rangers and Giants. Hopefully, we could do this again very soon. Till the next time, bro. Let's go Giants. Let's go Rangers.
Let's do it, baby.
Peace out, brother.
See ya.
Thanks a lot.